Part two in this little mini series on the song Blood Soaked Bay. The bridge from headroom to vitality. In the last video, we looked at the physical side of this master, how the Airwindows Frankenstein saturation stack, say that fast 10 times, shaped our waveforms so effectively that we achieved our loudness target with zero gain reduction in the limiter. But once you've secured the headroom, the question shifts from is it loud enough to is it alive enough? This brings me to another Airwindows tool that has become indispensable to my workflow, Airwindows Meter, which you're looking at right now as it analyzes and assigns a rating to the song Six Gun Shooting, as sung by Johnny Cash on the album The Legend of Jesse James, 1978, which was given to me as a reference for this project. Overview: the philosophy of the meter. At first glance, this GUI is deceptively simple. Actually, is it? Doesn't look that simple, does it? But it represents a radical departure from standard LUFS or peak metering. Most meters tell you how much space you're taking up. Meter tells you how much energy you're actually conveying. It operates on two specific biases. One, slew, or the speed of the sound. Think of slew as the acceleration of your speakers. A standard meter just tells you how high the wave goes. Slew tells you how fast it gets there. In historical recordings, that snap and immediacy are what make a voice feel like it's standing in the room with you. If we overprocess the audio, we slow down the slew, making the music feel perhaps distant or detached from the physical space that you're in. We're looking for high velocity movement, not just high volume. 2, sonority or sonic weight. This measures the integrity of the harmonic structure. When a mix has high sonority, it feels expensive, focused, present, anchored in the moment. It has a solid fundamental resonance that doesn't fall apart when you turn it up. For the material that we're producing here, I feel this is vital. We aren't just making a loud digital file, we're building a sonorous, sort of sonic monument that hopefully carries the physical weight of the original performance and conveys the gravity of the subject matter. The status check, the legendary plateau. By now, on Meter, you should see that this song has achieved a rating of legendary. Now, a caveat, we do not chase meter ratings blindly. A mix can be legendary on the meter and sound transcendent to the ear. Or, conversely, it might get a transcendent rating and sound terrible. However, the meter is telling me something important here. It's signaling that while our Frankenstein chain is rounding off the peaks beautifully, it might be doing its job too well. By smoothing out those 4 kilohertz spikes and transients to protect the listener, we've potentially traded off some of that raw thrust that gives a vocal its competitive edge in a dense climax. Now, I'd like to call your attention to these red spikes in the band that is right here labeled Overslew. Just make a note of the red needles that you see here along this band. And I'm going to be back here in a flash to explain why those are important. Velocity versus loss of control. In the Airwindows philosophy, in the let's say the core values of this meter, Slew is the speed at which the voltage moves. Now, high slew means the transients are sharp, clear, and alive. However, an overslew spike is what happens when that speed exceeds the system's ability to define the shape of the wave. So the goal is fast slew, which is a clean, steep sort of cliff in the waveform. It sounds like, not cliff. It sounds like a crack or a thump that feels physical and immediate. It's high velocity, but the curve is still relatively smooth. Those spikes represent overslew. It's a kind of warning. And it's when the wave tries to move faster than quote-unquote legally possible in a digital system, or faster than the analog equipment that recorded it could optimally handle. So it creates a jagged edge, a microscopic square wave. It's like a car taking a corner so fast it loses traction and skids. Which, maybe there's something to be said for that. Right? And there probably is a great deal to be said for it, come to think of it. But I guess I'm kind of on about achieving a little bit more of a level of control over that in my approach to things. I'm going to have some of those overslew spikes here and there. Personally, I just don't want them as pervasive as they are. So the cache recording had a lot of overslew spikes because probably because of the analog gear of the era, tape saturation, console clipping, vintage limiters. In that context, those spikes add grit and character, but they technically represent, again, they represent a momentary loss of fidelity. All right. So what I'm on about here is to bring that legendary status to the top tier rating, which is Transcendent. So I'm going to run Blood-Soaked Bay through the meter, and then I'll continue my explanation of where I'm going with this. Without further ado,
the SSB recruited me to dispatch and ride the secret line. Washington to Richmond, hidden by friends in old gold mines. I didn't know I'd meet a gal that cut her hair, wearing gray, fighting a war, riding her mare. She followed me into the fray of the spy game. We married in a war-torn evening rain. We rose from the ashes, carrying letters we held. Our mission was clear in the wilderness where we dwelled. We'd ride all day, sometimes through the night, making love when we rested by campfire light. It wasn't supposed to end this way. I went to your family with your blood-soaked bay, buried you and retired her that day. Rose sent you on a suicide mission and to an early grave. I followed you into a battle between blue and gray. Before we knew it, a bullet found its way into your chest. I was left alone to carry all the love we professed. I draped your lifeless body over your steed, leading you both back home with me. We rose from the ashes, carrying letters we held. Our mission was clear in the wilderness where we dwell. We'd ride all day, sometimes through the night, making love when we rested by campfire light. It wasn't supposed to end this way. I went to your family with your blood-soaked babe, buried you and retired her that day. Buried you and retired her that day.
Okay, so you can see that we just ticked over into legendary right at the end of the song, which rankles me a little bit because the last time I ran this pass, legendary kicked in a little bit earlier, like the beginning of the final stretch, but it is what it is. That meter is not totally one-to-one consistent across every pass. But the point is, we are at legendary rating. Again, rating is not everything. All right. Meter doesn't have taste, doesn't have actual human ears. But when you know that the mix sounds good, basically, when you know that you're on the right track, then it's kind of a why not sort of thing. Let me see if I can get it to tick over to the highest rating, which is Transcendent. So how am I going to go about doing that? Well, you notice that there are no Overslew spikes in my reading because I've taken measures to prevent them. But now those Overslew spikes, everything that you see on this meter, all the peaks, all the dots, all the lines in the graph at the bottom, they all represent energy, the way energy is flowing, the way energy is hitting. And it's a system of energy conservation and distribution. It's kind of like that old, it's kind of a rule of thumb of the universe that energy is neither created nor destroyed. Same idea. You don't destroy energy, you just massage it, you redistribute it, you reallocate it. And you can do that sort of haphazardly, or you can do it with intention. I try to do it with intention. And so I have two ways of going about trying to get that rating up to Transcendent. One way is by finally adjusting how the energy is focused and distributed across the frequency bands. And another way is by, well, I'll leave that to the part 3 of this series and wrap this up because I'm coming up on my time limit. So this has been Vinyl Bear in lovely scenic Paju City, South Korea. And I'll see you next time for part 3. Over and out.